BJ, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Within Galileo, we have the opportunity of serving entrepreneurs, help build their businesses and have impact and serve end users. One of the things that we've been seeking to do as a company is to bring that story to life and to understand what it's like to be a founder, to run a business, to build a business. And so thank you for joining us today for our first visit of a CEO and founder here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Really, really happy to have you. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up in New York. I've been a career banker. I've been in banking for about 30 years. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2002. Wells Fargo brought me down to run a business called Asset-Backed Finance Sales and Trading, which was a business that dealt with consumer and commercial receivables. And within that business, we dealt with a lot of different fintechs to integrate risk, to hedge risk, to look at consumer behavior, look at consumer data, consumer lending. And, watching the fintech space, I saw, and my co-founder, Gary, saw a real opportunity to jump in the B2C space. And as you know, the B2C space is pretty dicey. I think you see a lot more people going B2B because it's just easier to scale, and B2C, consumers are fickle. And so it was tough. I resigned from Wells in August 2019. And it was an interesting conversation with my wife to say, I'm leaving Wall Street after, 30 years to start a company. And, she was absolutely fully supportive and jumped into Flyp full-time January 2020, and we're off and running.
We're going to come on to how formed was the idea of Flyp in just a second. But, we may have some aspiring entrepreneurs out there or people with an idea. What was it that convinced you to take the leap, to create Flyp? And do you have any advice for somebody that's got an idea that's maybe been in the back of their mind for a while, but they just haven't taken the plunge yet?
Yeah, I've started businesses within big businesses, so I think I got a little bit of a taste of that entrepreneurial fire. And then, age comes into play a little bit, maturity comes into play, your network comes into play, life comes into play, where you just finally get to that point where, are you jumping or not jumping? And I think that's the toughest decision. I think that's where a lot of people walk to the edge of the cliff and walk away. I'm happy I jumped and don't regret it for a second. But I think just it was one of those moments, like you hear, use a sports analogy, running back sometimes slow up a little bit to let the hole develop, and then they go through. And it kind of was like that. It was like all of a sudden seeing that there's a true opportunity here and jumping in.
So let's unpack that opportunity. For those that may have heard Flyp, seen the logo, what is Flyp?
Yeah, so I think when Gary and I, again, Gary Zukowski, my co-founder, when we really looked at it and we started to talk about it, I left Wells Fargo, and Gary's a career entrepreneur and has sold 3 different companies. And I just hit him with just question after question after question. I mean, I'm the fin side of the equation, he's the tech side of the equation. And I think I just wore him down to a nub on, BJ, I'm working for free, you're calling me at midnight, and it's ridiculous. But where we both arrived was, I think we all get caught up in, the fintech space is crowded, the B2C space is crowded, the financial landscape is crowded. But when Gary and I really started to look at it, we saw, 1, the market's huge. 2, we saw this huge kind of transformation of people moving from mega center banks to smaller financial solutions. And we saw a lot of people doing the exact same thing. And where we got really excited is, if you look at the landscape, we've seen technology intersect with name the industry. But when it intersected with finance is always a laggard as just an industry. And you saw finance really start to speed up, and we saw some pretty cool innovation. But where we think the next intersection is going to be is with social. And to answer your question, what Flyp is, it's a very modern, a very fun, very social way to handle your financial life. And that's where we think the puck is going. So if you think about your everyday life, you think about media, music, gaming, fitness, it's a product and service, and it's wrapped in a social experience. And then you get to finance, and it's kind of like, which one's not like the other? I think with me, I log on to my banking app, not my Flyp app, but if there's another big bank and I log in and I check my balance, I pay a bill, I see if something hit, and then I'm off because there's no reason to stay. So that's the swim lane we're in, is that there is a far more fun, far more social, far more modern way to do this. So we launched a few weeks ago. We have a Visa branded debit card. We have a very cool gamified rewards program where you can earn up to 110% cash back. It's all gamified. We keep adding in gamification layers. There's sweepstakes. There's going to be quests. We'll eventually add in NFT. We'll add in cryptos. It's going to be very social and modern, kind of unlike anything you see right now.
So let's just unpack that. Gamification, that's pretty unique in financial services. Some have used the term gamification, but how are you using gamification today? Is it an example of a use case that you can highlight?
We started with just, data. Gary and I are both data guys, and when we just started to look at the engagement and retention numbers around gamification, especially with younger generations, the numbers are just off the charts. And we always hear about financial education, we hear about financial literacy, and you would think with the advent of the internet and the internet getting spread all around the world, financial education would get better, and it's worse. So we're trying to take a completely different angle and leverage gamification to spread finance, to make it modern, make it social, make it fun. But to answer your question where we started, when we talk to our future customers, and the average US consumer has 3 cards in their wallet, and we said, when you get to that point of sale system, what card do you grab? And overwhelmingly, the decision is driven by rewards. So right away we said, okay, we need to build a rewards program, but we need to build a wow factor, and it has to be gamified. So every time you swipe your Flyp debit card, you get a wheel spin. You spin the wheel, and you win every time. You either win Flyp coins, which right out of the gate, we wanted to plant that seed for NFT and crypto. So have the mind and the consumer thinking about that. And the Flyp coins are a unit of measure that you can use to buy swag. We layered in sweepstakes. We're gonna layer in concert experiences, a lot of different ways to win and use those Flyp coins. Eventually, you're gonna be able to pay it forward, give Flyp coins to other Flyp customers. You're gonna be able to donate them to your favorite charity. It's gonna be a lot of different use cases, crypto, NFT. But then the fun side is the cash side, is that you could go into Best Buy and buy a TV, swipe the card, get to the parking lot, spin that wheel, and the TV's paid for. We pay for the TV. So just really driving on that gamification, that FOMO, the dopamine, and that moments of delight that you can share with your friends. And the reason we get from 100 to 110%, if you win that 100% and then you share it on social media, we juice it with that extra 10%, which is actually a very cheap customer acquisition cost for us.
That's a pretty compelling story of what Flyp is today. As you said, where the puck is going. Where is Flyp in the in market from a timing perspective?
Yeah, we launched a few weeks ago. We probably sent out about a little over 2,000 cards. We really wanted to get the compliance right, which I'll get to in a minute, which is another reason why we chose Galileo. But we've seen so many companies out there, specifically tech companies. You've heard about them acquiring this tech debt, and they can't get out from under it. And Gary and I have the opinion that there's a lot of companies out there that are going to get bogged down by compliance debt. So many fintechs, so many tech companies are trying to reduce friction and increase user experience or enhance user experience. And we think fraud is going to soar. So we are really trying to leverage what you have and build rules engines behind what you have to really get way ahead of the fraud. So we really haven't poured a lot of money into marketing yet. We're starting to do that now, but we're really starting to get into the fun phase, because all of our early warning indicators have worked really well with the fraud we've seen so far.
So you clearly had a vision for where you want to take this, where the business you wanted to build, where the puck was heading. Why did you choose Galileo?
Really good question. When Gary and I set out and we stood at the virtual whiteboard, we had about 11 different pieces of the puzzle, 11 different partners that we really needed to solve for. and we put the processor right up there with the partner bank. And Gary and I said from the very start that we weren't going to give, it was going to be best in breed every partner that we chose. We'd rather build something than partner with someone that was subpar. Right out of the gate with Galileo, I've been a salesperson my whole life. We got connected to Brock Bennett and Ben Burton, and they're the ultimate Galileo ambassadors. They were very patient. Gary and I are probably painfully curious. And we hit them with so many questions. They were so patient. They knew the product inside and out. We kept waiting for a weak link, either in the documentation, in the APIs, in the people, in the roadmap. And we just kept getting surprised, positively surprised as we got further down. But it was really 4 things. It was the people out of the gate. It was the technology you had. It was where you were, and it was where you were going. And I saw some of the Technisys people here earlier. We started talking to Technisys in August 2020, and they were literally just a product we couldn't afford at the time, and we loved everything about them and loved Miguel and the team. And so when we saw you purchase Technisys, it was a good validating moment for us, because we were huge fans of their product, and we love where that product will take you.
With that and our partnership working together, are there areas that you see as your biggest challenges as you move forward building the business?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a little bit about the compliance. That's at the forefront of our mind, and I layer fraud in with that. But where we're excited is the more we dig into your dynamic fraud engine and operational fraud expertise, it matches very well with our view and the toggles, and the things that we can do with velocity limits, with technology, with ACH. So the insights that you guys are implementing, the dashboards that you're implementing, the early fraud indicators, get us really excited, like I said, because we think compliance and fraud is going to be a huge problem. So having that expertise and having that technology to lean on and having the same view is really important to us.
Fantastic. A compelling story from BJ McAndrews, the founder and CEO of Flyp, one of Galileo's key clients, and a client that we've been able to partner with to take to market just within the last couple of weeks. So fresh off of that market launch, here to share his story about BJ, the founder, Flyp, the company, and our partnership together. And we're really thrilled to have you here with us, BJ. In closing, any comments that you'd like to share, whether it's advice for entrepreneurs, advice for fintech leaders, thoughts on the future ecosystem, or on our partnership?
Yeah, I think going back to the entrepreneur question, I think speed is a huge weapon. Doing a self-evaluation on what you are good at and being very honest with yourself on what you are not good at, and then surrounding yourself with people that really fill those gaps. And the partnerships are key. This is a huge market. We are in the very early innings of what we're going to see in finance, and I think there's going to be a lot of winners, and it's going to be really exciting to watch it not only expand through the U.S., but Latin America and Europe and India and Africa. It's going to be pretty amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, BJ, and thank you for joining us for our first installment of Founders at Galileo.